Another one of the questions that was asked of the Trump tariff guy was, what's the real legal reason for, the Supreme Court obviously found them to be wrong and outside of the bounds of the executive. But like, what do you say to the question that like he implemented tariffs on the Brazilian government prosecuting Bolsonaro? And he was just like, no, it's just because there's a real economic need. There's a real economic need to tariff Brazil? News to me. Where's the surplus? What's the real economic need to tariff Brazil? If we're fixing the trade deficit, why are we tariffing countries with a surplus? What is the reason? It's so stupid. And it turns out, according to the BBC, Trump threatens new Canada tariffs over fire, sending filthy air to U.S. cities. What? Why? Brother, I don't know what to say to this, man. It's just like the administration is not one guy. There is no single decision-making capability here. It's not supposed to be this way. This is money molestation. It doesn't make sense. It's the one thing that you're not supposed to do. You're not allowed to molest the bag. You're not allowed to molest the money. It doesn't make any sense.
President says it's reckless mismanagement of now 955 wildfires.
Well, he's right. I mean, there is reckless
Dude, what are you saying, dude? What are you saying? He's right? Really? He's right. Is there anything this man won't molest? Be on the lookout in the upcoming days for Donald Trump to come out and do the classic spiel. Canada is not raking the forests, okay? They got a lot of shrubbery. They got too much shrubbery, too much dead trees on the ground of the forest, and they're not raking it. They're not doing sufficient. He already did. Even the Fox Business woman, the Fox Business host is like, really? Like, she doesn't believe him. He doesn't believe himself.
I told him, you got to stop these fires from coming in and, poisoning our air. Our air has been poisoned. I have a good relationship with Mark Carney, but, we got to stop the fires up there. If we can help them, we'll help them. But maybe they should pay us some damages or something, or we should do some tariffs. But it was terrible. You had businesses closing. In particular, Michigan, if you look at Detroit, Michigan area, they had to close everything. They had to close car plants and a lot of other things. So I've never remembered this happening. Over the last 4 or 5 years, you saw it starting to take place. I've never remembered it happening.
Great, I guess.
Well, he's right. There is reckless mismanagement. This is not only in Canada, but California does the same thing. Understand, this is the ultra left again who puts out these policies. They don't want Americans to have air conditioning, to have,
What? What the f are you saying? What the f is coming out of your stupid mouth, man? What the hell? The ultra left wants wildfires. They don't want us to have air conditioning. If anything, you could make the opposite argument. We want air conditioning so much that our carbon footprint has destroyed the planet and therefore has created this like inconsistent hydration pattern in the forest. The forests are more likely to catch on fire now more than anything else. Our endless appetite for profiteering has made it so that we don't have enough money in the bank for forest management. And of course, this is how the dry ass forests catch on fire. There's far more fuel than ever before because climate change has made the weather conditions so unstable that first it rains too much and it's overfeeding the forests, and then it's far too dry. So now you have more fuel than ever before, and they catch on fire, and then it's far too difficult to put out.
Cars and a lot of the things that we have and the energy that we use, we've done more damage in a short period of time from Canada than any of that would ever do. It's horrible. It's bad for people and their health. It's bad for the tourism industry and all industries and all businesses. Certainly, Canada's got to straighten this out. It didn't have to be that way. It reminds me of the wind turbines that were supposed to be pro-environment.
Bro used a clear-cut example of anthropogenic climate change devastating outcomes to present an argument against renewable energies that would actually soften the anthropogenic climate change and reverse some of our carbon footprint. I am losing my mind. We are led by baboons. We are led by morons. We're so dude, we are so endlessly Americans look at every problem and immediately demand more of the inciting incident. We look at gun violence and we say, what's the solution? More guns, please. My only solution to combating school shootings is to arm the teachers. arm the students. Give them goddamn kindergartners a handgun, maybe a hand grenade. You know how we make sure the climate change... Oh, sorry, I apologize. I got real Chinese for a moment. Excuse me for bringing up fake Chinese inventions like climate change. You know what our solution to these wildfires is? More carbon footprint. The wind turbines. That makes us gay. We've gotten too homified. That's the reason why these forests are catching on fire. God's punishing us.
And hurt the environment. It reminds me of their energy program, which was supposed to be pro-environmental and save money, which cost a fortune and would have created and does create more problems than ever. It doesn't work. Socialism doesn't work. The Democratic Party doesn't work. And certainly Canada isn't working because there's so far left. This is a warning shot.
At some point, it's like super basic. We look at China's rise as a global power, and then we look at America's decline on the one hand and Europe's decline as well. There's like very clearly one simple answer. It's not even like an ideological commitment to socialism versus capitalism. I'm not even making that argument. But there is one thing that China does that we don't do, and I think that's born out of, obviously, capitalism and the endless need for profit seeking. And that is, when there's a problem, the government looks at that problem and says, we are going to solve this problem. China, due to rapid industrialization, had a ton of issues with air quality. Okay. A decade ago, they had tremendous smog. They had cities that were rendered uninhabitable. This was a huge issue. So China did what? They looked at it and they were like, okay, we got to move away from this. We got to move away from this, although it's obviously beneficial for us to keep using coal-powered power plants. You know, instead of choosing maximum efficiency, they moved in the direction of renewable energy. Obviously, there was a lot of corruption within the Chinese system as well. Xi Jinping's biggest thing was he is the great eradicator of corruption. Once the capital-owning class was also brought into the fold within the party system, led to some issues, some significant problems, specifically corruption. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm Chinese and I got to be honest with you. The government told us to do a lot of things that made our lives much harder to combat air quality issues. I can't imagine the US government can implement a quarter of what the Chinese government implemented. I mean, there is obviously a much higher degree of autonomy in the Western world too. There's a cultural difference, whatever. But my point is, they identified a problem and they solved it. America, when is the last time you saw the United States of America identify a problem and solve it? I think it was the ozone layer. That's it. That is the last time I saw the Western liberal world look at a problem, recognize the existential crisis it was creating, and try to solve it. Yeah, CFC gases of the ozone that created a massive hole in the ozone layer. That was it. I'm not even saying COVID, chat. Did we deal with COVID? We tanked it here in America. We tanked COVID. To varying degrees, the Western world decided, some boomers are going to die. U.S. Department of Energy posting, during a recent summer heat wave across the mid-Atlantic, coal, natural gas, and nuclear power kept the lights and air conditioners on. The most valuable energy sources show up when you need them the most. Wind and solar, 6%.
Now, you better come to America, say, we're sorry, we're going to mend our ways, we're going to do what we used to do in the old day, and groom and maintain the ground level of what is underneath the forest, and thin the forest out where it needs to be done. It was always done. We never had these problems before.
I mean,
all the ignorant Republicans of magazine Canadian forest should be rigged. This is the Canada's boreal forest. It is dense, uneven, rocky, and filled with lakes and islands. 910 million acres of it has no road access, in case you were wondering how preposterous rake it is.